Hi everyone, this is Eagle News. I am Rose Papa Angeles in Washington. It's Saturday, May 21st, 2022, here in the nation's capital. Our coverage begins now. There is a very strong mental health awareness campaign being pushed by communities, healthcare organizations, and leaders of the nation. A mental health crisis is gripping the country, and the youth is one of its most vulnerable targets. What can be done and who can help? Rosal Feria reports.
It has been said that among the strongest are those who win battles we know nothing about. However, as the nation combats the mental health crisis, especially among the youth, what can we do if we or someone we know suffers from anxiety, depression, or even thoughts of self-harm?
For Mental Health Awareness Month, one thing that we're trying to do is to ask children, teens, and adults, how are you really? We're trying to normalize talking about how you're really feeling and trying to express more emotions than just the surface level. If we can be adults and talk about our feelings, then we can set an example for the children and teens that are in our lives.
Teach the kids, we need to teach the teens that, hey, you can overcome your anxiety, your depression, your fear, your pressure, your frustration, your anxiety. You could overcome all that by realizing what's knowledge without character. Because every action you take faced in those situations can make or break your character.
And we need to open up and end the silence about mental health.
Slogans in NAMI is "You are not alone."
Just let them know that it is okay to be frustrated and angry and upset, and it's okay to cry, but we have to figure out a positive way to do it, and especially with boys, because sometimes boys feel as though they can't cry or they, are not supposed to cry, and it's okay.
Right now, I've noticed with the growing mental health crisis, some of the things that we can change and help fight that would be perhaps opening up our lines of communication. I think a lot of times students often say, I'm okay, everything's fine, or I'm bored, but they can't really fully verbalize exactly what they're feeling. And as parents, sometimes we take that at face value. So when I say that we should open up our lines of communication, I mean looking at words that are not said and looking at their behavior, perhaps changes in how they're acting, and really being attuned to what they're doing and versus what they're not doing. And I feel that if we can open up their lines of communication and not be judgmental, perhaps not put down how they feel or just say, oh, it's, you're going to be okay, everything's going to be fine, don't worry about it. Perhaps that makes them feel that like their feelings aren't validated. So as parents, as teachers, if we really let them know that we care about their feelings, that we really want to listen to how they feel, and just opening up those lines, perhaps then they can feel like they're understood.
A good comment or positive content for them, even on social media, or have a good talk with them, choosing the word wisely so that I don't hurt their feelings.
I think in working with teens, the important thing is communication, to talk with them, to see where they're at, see what their support systems are.
My children's mental health is something that I take as a priority. And the reason for that is because I myself, as an adult, I suffer from anxiety and panic attacks. As a parent, I'm there to help them, to listen to what they have to say, to validate their feelings, and then the solution, to provide them with whatever tools that they need, whether it be self-talk, calming methods, or even just looking at the situation as a whole and helping them see that it's not as scary as they think it is. That is just what I constantly do, and I feel like as parents, we need to do that.
Raise awareness, to acknowledge, and to create a safe space for them.
To be accessible. Working parents, not working parents. We all have our own lives. We all have these other lives outside our children, but you need to be accessible. If your child wants to talk to you, be accessible. Stop what you're doing, put down your phone, and be present for your child.
Here are some things that parents can do to help their children through this crisis. Number 1, give children a safe place to share their feelings. If you're noticing something different in your kid's behavior, try finding a quiet, calm moment to talk about it. It will be important to listen more and talk less, so your child can feel free to express themselves. It is important to remain calm, listen to our children's concerns, speak kindly, and reassure them. It's also very important to be aware of our own reactions to stress and anxiety. Try to create time in the week where you and your family can regularly talk. Create a routine out of it. A quick check-in before bed, a family game night, so everyone can practice creating a safe space for sharing their feelings. Also try practicing asking open-ended questions. Number 2, recognize anxiety is completely normal. Learning to tolerate uncertainty is a developmental skill. It takes time for kids to understand that feelings are temporary, and it's important to learn skills on how we handle them. And it starts with us as parents. It will be important to model healthy stress management. If our kids see how we are intentional about taking care of our mental health, they are more likely to mirror it as well. If we are feeling overwhelmed ourselves, we can try saying, I'm not handling my stress well right now, and model how we can problem solve through it. And number 3, lastly, we have to emphasize self-care. It's important to think about mental health as part of our total health. The mental health of our children is crucial. Not only does mental health affect their physical health, but untreated mental health problems interfere with learning, socialization, self-esteem, and other important aspects of child development that can have lifelong repercussions. So pay attention and take what you see seriously. If your child is showing signs of anxiety or depression, talk to your doctor.
To win a battle, we should first know the enemy. And in this battle against the mental health crisis, we need not fight alone. Rosel Feria, Washington, D.C., Eagle News.
Thanks, Rosel. Now, on to COVID news. Still fighting the battle against the pandemic, the United States government continues to push for a proactive involvement in winning over it. American households are encouraged not only to get vaccinated against the virus, but also to frequently test for infection. EJ Gonzalez reports.
Households in the United States are now able to order additional free at-home rapid COVID tests. This time around, each household will receive 8 free tests, bringing the total number since the start of the program to 16. The White House says free and accessible tests will help slow the spread of the virus as the highly transmissible subvariants of Omicron drive a rise in cases in parts of the country. Over 70 million households have visited covidtest.gov to order at-home tests to be mailed directly to them. People who have difficulty accessing the internet or need additional support placing an order can call 1-800-232-0233 to get help in English, Spanish, and more than 150 other languages 8 a.m. to midnight Eastern Time, 7 days a week. For more information, people can visit covid.gov/test. The third round of tests were purchased with funding from the American Rescue Plan. EJ Gonzalez, Eagle News, Washington, D.C.
Thanks, EJ. In related news, COVID booster shots are strongly recommended for those 50 and older, and most recently for children ages 5 to 11. This after the Food and Drug Administration and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention consecutively expanded eligibility and strengthened recommendations for the shot. Arlene Ocampo reports.
Children as young as 5 years old are now eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine boosters in the U.S. This after the top health authorities in the nation approved the expanding of booster eligibility to kids ages 5 through 11 years old. Earlier this week, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration amended the emergency use authorization for the Pfizer-BioNTech single-dose booster for the 5 through 11 age group. Days later, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention followed suit, also recommending that children ages 5 through 11 years should receive a booster shot. Both government health agencies recommend that booster shots for this age group be administered at least 5 months after completing the initial Pfizer vaccination series. Since the pandemic began, more than 4.8 million children ages 5 through 11 have been diagnosed with COVID-19. 15,000 have been hospitalized, and tragically, over 180 have died. The CDC says as cases increase across the country, a booster dose will safely help restore and enhance protection against severe disease. In addition, the CDC is strengthening its recommendation that those 12 and older who are immunocompromised and those 50 and older should receive a second booster dose at least 4 months after their first. Arlene Ocampo, Eagle News, Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Arlene. In other news, with babies and parents in the United States facing shortage in infant formula, President Joe Biden authorizes that supplies that meet federal standards be flown in from overseas into the country. Jeff Sanidad reports.
President Biden invokes the Defense Production Act to speed up the production of baby formulas and to authorize flights to import supply from overseas. This was initiated after the safety-related closure of Abbott Nutrition Manufacturing Plant in Michigan. The company has called for a voluntary recall of several powdered infant formulas due to concerns about bacterial contamination at Sturgis, Michigan facility after 4 infants fell ill. The Defense Production Act provides the president broad authority to require companies to prioritize manufacturer and allocation to formula manufacturers before other customers in an effort to eliminate production bottleneck. The president has also authorized the Defense Department to use commercial aircraft to fly formula supplies that meet federal standards from overseas to the United States. The White House is calling this Operation Fly Formula. Jeff Sanidad, Eagle News, Washington, D.C.
Thanks, Jeff. Historic inflation rates might just be one of the factors why house sales in the country are slowing down. Mala Simbulan has the details.
Rising prices and higher mortgage rates slow U.S. existing home sales for the third consecutive month in April, according to an industry survey. The National Association of Realtors, or NAR, reports that sales fell 2.4% compared to March due to higher home prices and sharply higher mortgage rates. NAR also says that it is likely to return to the pre-pandemic home sales activity after the remarkable surge over the past 2 years. Bargain borrowing rates helped fuel the strong demand for home buying during the pandemic, which has driven prices ever higher while builders have struggled to keep up due to supply backlogs for lumber and other materials amid a shortage of workers. According to a survey, single-family home sales fell 2.5% last month, while sales of condos fell 1.6%. NAR also notes that despite rising prices, homes still do not stay on the market long, selling in an average of 17 days. Oxford Economics says strong demand is likely to remain a feature of the housing market, but expects existing home sales to lose more momentum as a sharp erosion in home buying affordability weighs on sales. Myla Simbulan, Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, Eagle News.
Thanks, Myla. With historic inflation rates impacting households across the country, California governor proposes an $18 billion inflation relief package. If passed, it will assist residents with childcare, rent, utilities. Julianne Fiesta reports.
Governor Gavin Newsom plans to pay for this help with money from the state's budget surplus. Newsom says many Californians are struggling to cope with high costs due to inflation. The biggest chunk of money, more than $11 billion, will be returned to state residents in the form of tax refunds. That will include a $400 check being mailed to every registered vehicle owner. What if a person owns more than one vehicle? There is a limit of 2 checks per person. There is also money for rental assistance. For some, the state will waive childcare fees, help with overdue utility bills, and provide free public transit. Hospitals and nursing homes will get nearly $1 billion to help pay for staff, and more than $300 million has been earmarked to provide affordable health care for middle-class families. As well, the state will hike the minimum wage to $15.50 an hour next January. The plan still has to be passed by the state legislature. Julian Fiesta, Eagle News, Los Angeles, California.
Thanks, Julianne. It's time for Correspondent at Large. This week, Thomas Likeness talks about why the United Nations warns of a climate catastrophe, a man in Los Angeles wearing a very trashy outfit, plus A baby giraffe in San Diego with a leg condition walks after wearing special braces. Thomas?
And now, news and commentary from around the globe. The global energy system is broken. Those are the words of Antonio Guterres. He's the Secretary General of the United Nations. You'll hear him say it in a moment. He says we have to get away from fossil fuels. So again, Mr. Secretary General,
the global energy system is broken and bringing us ever closer to climate catastrophe. Fossil fuels are a dead end, environmentally and economically. The war in Ukraine and its immediate effects on energy prices is yet another wake-up call. The only sustainable future is a renewable one. We must end fossil fuel pollution and accelerate the renewable energy transition before we incinerate our only home. Time is running out.
I agree with him. Something has to be done. But there's no free energy. We talk about getting rid of fossil fuels, but we can't, at least not right now. Oil and gas are more than just sources of energy. Fossil fuels are used in the production of solar panels. Those windmills, the two sources of renewable energy that he promotes. Look at the clothes you wear. The fabrics have a component derived from petrochemicals. All of those gadgets you have, cell phones, appliances in your homes, all of them have a petrochemical component. And will renewable energy sources provide enough electricity to recharge all of those electric vehicles that will replace petroleum-fired ones? The present power grid can't handle it now. What about the future? And for those of us in cold climates, home heating is an absolute essential. Putting on an extra sweater won't keep us from freezing in minus 40-degree weather. So like it or not, fossil fuels will be with us in one form or another for decades to come. But Guterres is right. We have to respond to climate change. We can't reverse it. We have to adapt. And we have to accept the fact that there is no free energy. There's no energy without some environmental impact. Let's stay with the environment theme. Do you ever think about how much garbage you generate just in everyday life? An environmental activist in Los Angeles decided to be visual about it. He actually wore his trash for a month. This is Rob Greenfield. He's got a few days to go in his month-long campaign to wear his trash. Rob's been wandering around the streets of Los Angeles and surrounding cities, literally clothed in all of the garbage he's generated in the last few weeks.
So this is a specially designed trash suit because the average person creates about 5 pounds of trash per day. This needs to be able to hold on to a lot of weight. So today's day 27 and I'm up to 63 pounds of trash on my body. So this suit has clear expandable pockets that grew with me through the last 27 days.
So why does he do it?
So for most of us, trash is out of sight, out of mind. We throw it in the garbage can and it goes away and we never think about it again. So I want to create a visual that helps people to really see how much our trash adds up.
Passerby Anne-Marie O'Connor says seeing Rob has caused her to think about her impact on the environment.
I think it's inspiring that Rob is taking this journey. I think it's also kind of embarrassing in some ways that to learn, because I don't know much about that, and to learn how much trash I am an individual, I'm actually contributing to the environment on a daily basis.
Normally, living a minimalist life, Rob decided to put that aside for this campaign. For 30 days, he consumed like an average American. And here's a quick yarn and animal story, the tale of Mistuni the giraffe. Mistuni was born in the San Diego Zoo. She has a disorder that makes her front legs bend the wrong way. That means it's hard for her to stand or walk, something that could be life-threatening for this long-necked creature. Working with experts from a human orthotics clinic, veterinarians were able to fit Mistuni with custom braces to correct the condition. She wore those braces for 39 days. Things turned out well. Mistuni is back with the herd now, running free. And I'll be back in 7 days. In the meantime, I wish you all peace, joy, and happiness in the ensuing week. Thomas I. Likeness, Correspondent at Large, Eagle News.
U.S. First Lady Jill Biden is on a 3-country tour of Latin America. The 5-day visit includes Ecuador, Panama, and Costa Rica. The purpose of her trip is to emphasize the importance of the U.S. alliance with these 3 countries. As well, she will emphasize America's commitment to democracy in a region where democratic backsliding is increasingly frequent. Her first stop was in Quito, Ecuador, where she visited a child development center and public school that carries out an accelerated learning program with the U.S. support. The school helps Ecuadorian, Venezuelan, and Colombian youth who have dropped out of school. On Friday, May 20, Biden traveled to Panama City to visit a local school which offers student vision and hearing screenings and eyeglasses and hearing aids. Her Panama stop included a shelter that offers care to those living with HIV or AIDS. Her last is Costa Rica, where she will visit the National Children's Hospital and a community center. The U.S. Department of Energy says its Better Building initiative is cleaning up the country's air. The department says its support of greener buildings resulted in energy savings of more than $15 billion last year. In its annual report, the department boasts those saving represents removing 155 million tons of carbon from the atmosphere. That is roughly the amount of greenhouse gases emitted by 20 million homes every year. The department is working with more than 900 businesses, governments, utility companies, and housing authorities to improve the energy efficiency of residential and commercial buildings. The program began in 2011. More on mental health awareness. The Department of Education reaches out to communities in an effort to address the country's mental health crisis, especially affecting the youth. Philip Toledo on the week's Learning Curve.
Recently, the United States Department of Education announced a special summit focused on supporting students with disabilities and those with mental health needs. Entitled Recovery to Thriving, Supporting Mental Health and Students with Disabilities, this virtual summit will focus on steps educational institutions and communities can take to support students with disabilities or mental health needs. This comes as President Joe Biden announced his strategy to address the nation's mental health crisis during Mental Health Awareness Month. According to the press release, this summit will begin in late May and bring together education leaders, disability advocates, special education professionals, and others to discuss the various issues affecting students. There will be a focus on funding for special programs, equity for people with disabilities in the educational system, as well as digital accessibility as many school and work environments are becoming hybrid coming out of the pandemic. The Department of Education has also recently announced plans to strengthen the rights for students with disabilities and provide more resources to promote social and emotional well-being of both students and children. United States Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona is quoted as saying, "Ensuring that our students with disabilities receive a free, appropriate public education that meets their academic, social, and emotional needs isn't just written into law, it's a moral obligation. We must work together so that students with disabilities and mental health needs receive the resources they need to thrive." Those interested in registering for the summit can do so by visiting the links located on the Department of Education website, ed.gov. Philip Toledo, Learning Curve, Eagle News.
Thanks, Philip. May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, a tribute to the generations of Asian and Pacific Islanders who have enriched America's culture and history while still playing a role in its future success. Nedita Manawis takes us to Plano, Texas, to see how North Texans celebrate their Asian Pacific roots.
The 18th Plano Asia Fest returns as an in-person event at the Haggard Park in downtown Plano. The event showcased various cultural performances, music, food, vendor booths, activities for the kids, and many others in celebration of the Asian American Heritage Month.
Hi, my name is Jian Xie. The best part for this event is we can meet all the Asian cultures, organizations, and enjoy the events. And a lot of people here we met from, so as the diversity communities, so we feel through the Asian cultures there's a bonding here, so we can unite together to make the America beautiful.
My name is Mingyi Chen. This event includes a lot of big communities, like through different cultures. We feel like very supportive of the entire community. And I hope that's the main purpose for me to serve this community.
Anita Manawis, Eagle News, Plano, Texas.
Thanks, Nanita. On this week's Community Care, we take you to Ottawa, where migrants, after fleeing their countries, get the assistance they need in order to adjust to a new life in Canada. Sabir Mufti reports.
To love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And the best way to love them is whenever we possibly can, we should do good to them who truly need it. Especially our recipients in these past few days were of countries that have been affected not only by the economy but even civil unrest, which is why with God's mercy we have most of our recipients coming from Afghanistan and Ukraine who are in the headlines today. And they're very appreciative of what Brother Eduardo V. Manalo has done for the church and even for them.
First of all, I would like to thank you to the volunteers of the Felix I. Manalo Foundations and to Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. I think it's a wonderful thing that the church is doing. Being a newcomer myself, my family came here 40 years ago, and back then we did not have a lot of support. Only then the community pulled together. But having support like this, first of all, make the newcomer feel that they're part of a community, that they're not alone.
Well, of course, it's an important part of our work
And the services we provide is also, we talk about orientations about housing, how to adjust to the Canadian society, education, employment, and of course your organization also does these things. But most importantly, yours are much more important. You're usually working in the background. And the generosity of your organizations that is helping us. Also, a part of what we're doing, there are certain things we will not be able to provide. For example, the donations that you bring us to help a lot of clients to start their life and have a new life here in Canada. It's very important, and it's with partnership. All of us, we can work together for the benefit of the newcomers.
Sabir Mufti, Eagle News, Ottawa, Canada.
Thank you all for joining us again. If there are stories or topics you want us to share with you, just comment below. View, like, share our other shows. City Limits with Alan Basayahe. Connected with Dr. David. Take a seat and join us with Anna Kui. Play Date with Mike Hudson and friends. Plus, Journey, Stories of Filipinos in Canada with Kathleen Cruz. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Eagle News Live. I am Rose Papa Angeles, and happy weekend, everyone.